Well, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie. I hope you're having yourself a fantastic day. We're just here hanging out, having a good day. Today, I want to chat about the TCG hobby in general. As I see it, there are three kind of aspects to this hobby that we all fit into one or two or three of these categories that I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to encourage you with some of the stuff I think that people often leave out of videos like this. So let me know what you think in the comment section as we're going through here. I would love to hear your thoughts on all this stuff. But I believe that in the trading card game hobby, maybe in every hobby to be honest, but in the trading card game hobby, there are three aspects of a consumer, of an individual in the hobby. That is that there are players, there are collectors. I know you're like, oh my gosh, this is really smart. But there are players, there are collectors, and then we'll go with the hustlers, those who have a business side of that, whether that be a side business or they're just slinging cards, kind of for cash, or people who have a full-fledged business like an LGS like myself. So you have your players, your collectors, and your hustlers. And I think that most of us find our way into this hobby from falling in love with the gameplay. I remember sitting at the table in college at a big ping pong table, and we would always play Magic on this big ping pong table. And I fell in love with just the interaction with friends. We always talk about playing the game. You fall in love with playing the game, but in reality, you fall in love with the idea of interacting with your friends and your family in different ways. And I fell in love with playing. Then I started collecting. I had a collection. And then I started realizing how expensive my collection was, and I needed to sell some. So I learned how to sell stuff. And what I've learned over the last 15, 20 years of being involved in this is that it takes so much work. Whether it be a player or a collector, going through and organizing a binder, or a business and actually running the business, those who I have seen succeed in any of the three aspects of this hobby, have put in an immense amount of work to get to where they are. The players that I know that are really good, they are practicing the game every weekend. They're at a different tournament. They're at a different thing. They are stretching themselves and putting in the time. The collectors are doing research, and they're trying to find the best deals, and they're keeping their cards in the best of conditions, and they're putting in the work there. And as a business owner, I know how much I never stop working. I don't. This past weekend was Black Friday. It was Thanksgiving, but I was still working on my phone. I was still doing stuff, getting ready for Black Friday sales and everything that was going to be going on. So it just takes an incredible amount of work. And I think one of the biggest issues in the hobby, probably in any hobby, is that those who feel like they are lacking behind are not willing to put in the work to get ahead in the specific area of their hobby. And so I want to come through and say that if you don't love the hobby, you should probably not consider moving into another one of those areas. There are definitely people who just want to play or just want to collect or whatever. And if you don't really love the hobby, you should definitely not hop in to this idea of selling cards or whatever. But if you do find yourself constantly thinking about Magic the Gathering, or constantly thinking about Sorcery, Contested Realm, or constantly thinking about Pokemon, I think that there are great aspects to this hobby where you can continue to go down the rabbit trail and get deeper and deeper into the hobby by putting in the work. And if you love it, then I think that's a great opportunity. So that's what I want to talk about. So I have three ideas for you of how to engage deeper with the hobby. Now, whether you're a player or a collector or an investor or side hustler, whatever it is, I think these things apply. Number one is to find connections and ask questions. And so if you see somebody who just is really a much better Magic player than you, or if you see somebody who is way further collected than you, the best thing I think to do is to ask questions. And people do not like to ask questions, because when you ask a question, what you're inherently doing is admitting to somebody that you don't know the answer. If you're asking a question, you're admitting to somebody that you are less than them. And that's a really hard thing to do. And pride often prevents us from growth. And so the first step, in my opinion, to getting better is to admit that you're not the best and to ask questions. And so that would be my first encouragement, is to actually reach out to people who are doing things the way that you want to do them, and say, hey, how did you learn how to do that? And I think most people in our community are super excited to help people grow deeper in love with the trading card game hobby. One of my favorite things about this hobby is the community aspect of it, where people they care about each other. Because I know this is true in a lot of people's lives, where this is your friends, this is your family. The people you play games with are oftentimes the people that matter the most in your life. So reach out to people, ask questions, and the Discord server is great for that. Actually, a little soft pump here. We are in at the end of December, the first of the year, we're going to be rebranding my Discord server and opening it up to just about anybody to come in, and we'll have different tiers of paid and other stuff too. But it's a great opportunity to find Discord servers, whether that be mine or somebody else's, where you can ask questions from people that aren't in your own local area, because oftentimes the communities that you're involved in your local area, there's only so much growth that can happen, and kind of what it takes is to find somebody outside of your area to reach that next step, and then you can actually take that into your local scene and be the person that has taken the next step and helps everybody else get to the next area. So ask questions, find connections, and I think that's a huge aspect for that. Now, the second thing, especially as you get into the more side hustling thing, but this probably, honestly, it holds true for playing, it holds true for collecting too, is to take risks. And as much as we don't like to ask questions and admit that we don't know things, taking risks is also something a lot of people don't like. It's much safer to just sit back and do nothing. But what I've found in my life is that the biggest risk that you can take is not taking risks at all. And that 9 times out of 10, you lose small and you win big. And if you take the risk, and if you take a calculated risk, is probably a better way to say, is to take calculated risks. If you can win big and lose small, you come out way ahead over the course of the years. And if you're always constantly looking and asking yourself the question, hey, what is my next risk? What is the thing that I want to do next? And how can I, if I lose on that, so I'll use, I've been opening alpha cases a lot, right? And as a YouTuber, as a content creator, I've been using those alpha cases to build a community of people who want to hang out and watch sorcery content. And I'm creating a channel that is not just Magic the Gathering, and it's not just what it used to be. It's a new thing. And so I'm investing in whether or not I win big or lose big on the alpha cases that I'm opening for sorcery. Financially, I am winning by having a community that is growing as a result of me opening up boxes, and people like to watch me lose or watch me win. And so by taking calculated risks, it's not always about making money, but it's what can you utilize these things for? When you lose, how can you utilize that to win? And so take calculated risks and push yourself to not just be afraid of the easy thing, which is to do nothing, and to actually spend yourself taking the steps forward. Because, man, I'm telling you, when you lose in this industry, typically you lose small. There's not a set that I can remember with Magic where I haven't been able to sell stuff and at least make most of my money back. There's not an opportunity that I've taken that I have lost everything on, as long as I was willing to put in the work to find a solution for it and then use that work for my benefit. So take calculated risk. Again, that goes back to everything. Go play in a tournament that is a higher risk tournament than you've played in before. And if you lose, at least you learn a lesson from it. Or, collecting things. And, take a stab at collecting a different aspect of the card game that you wouldn't typically know. And then the last thing is always be looking for how can you push to the next step. I think one of the things I hate about the community is that people are so wrapped up in their own part of it. The players in this trading card play community tend to look negatively on collectors and on people who are side hustling and flipping cards. Not really LGSs, but flipping cards, that kind of thing. And I would encourage you, wherever you find yourself, whether you're a player or a collector or a side hustler, to look at how you can take a next step into one of the other things. If you feel like you are fully involved in just collecting, well, maybe you need to look into how to take a step into selling cards. Like maybe you need to really evaluate, how can I grow in the hobby by doing that thing, or by playing the game and falling more in love with it. If you're just selling stuff and you're just using this to flip cards and make a profit, make the quick, easy buck that everybody talks about, first off, it doesn't exist anymore. Second, look into like actually enjoying the hobby, because again, if you don't actually enjoy it, there are far easier ways to make money. But I think if you take those next steps, I have found, at least in my life, that the thing that I do best is navigate those three things. And I can tell you right now, I'm feeling like I don't play Magic enough. I don't get to the commander table as much as I would like to. So I need to take another step and move towards that. And there's risks there, right? Because if I'm not working on this, but the biggest risk is I fall out of love with the hobby. And so that last idea is just like, man, figure out what your next steps should be within the hobby. What is something that would stretch you into doing something different that you wouldn't typically gravitate towards? So, man, I just love this hobby, and I think oftentimes it gets lost in the idea of every set is coming out. How lucky we are that we get to enjoy a hobby that has so much to offer, from gameplay and sitting at a table across from our friends to filling a binder full of cards that you get to love and look at and collect, to the opportunity to actually have it pay for itself, whether or not you own a business or just flipping cards for profit, or even the bottom end of that is just using the hobby to sell your extra stuff to pay for the things that you want to add to your to the hobby. So I love this hobby, and I think it's really cool that we get all three of those aspects. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And like I said, we're gonna have a Discord server coming out in the next month or two where you'll be able to actually discuss and ask questions and really create a community online where you can stretch yourself in all three of those hobbies. We may even have some gameplay stuff going on with some online events and stuff. It's gonna be pretty cool. So have yourselves a great day. Be kind to the people around you, and we'll see you again next video.